Hi guys, it's Lynn here. I hope you're having an incredible day. Now today guys, I'm going to be sowing some seeds. I'm very excited about this. And because it's February now, a little bit early in the year, but because we have the grow lights and we can give extra heat, I decided to start the seeds already rather than wait till spring. And now I've got three different types of seeds I'm going to be sowing here. One of Aloe Seeds, which is from my own plant, and Parodia magnifica, also called Noto Cactus magnifica, and this is from Hans's plant, Cactus, and also a Trichocereus cactus hybrid seeds. And the Trichocereus seeds were gifted to us by a very generous and wonderful friend Stephen, who is a friend of ours at the Cactus and Succulent Society here in Northern Ireland. So it's going to be very excited to sow seeds from his plant and something we haven't got. And as I said, the Parodia magnifica is from Hans's plant that flowered last year. We harvested the seed. And the Aloe Seeds is from seeds from my own aloe. So very exciting. And I've made multiple videos on growing cacti and succulents from seeds. So this isn't a how-to video. This is purely a bit of a video diary of just me sowing these seeds. And I can do updates on how they grow. And if you want to know how to grow cacti from seed, including succulents, please do check out the link above. I'm also going to put the link down below as well, because that goes into step by step on how to grow cacti from seed. And I'm only sharing the method that I use in that video, because there's no right and wrong. In fact, the people here we know at the Cactus Society, many different methods of growing cacti from seeds. I prefer to use the baggy method, and I sterilise the soil. I also like to add extra sand and perlite or grit as well. But this is personally my choice. Some people just prefer to sow them direct without any baggies. And I explain the reasons why I use these baggies in the video, so do check that out guys, and also the step-by-step if you're new to growing cacti and succulents from seed. And I've also made a video on how to grow aloe from seed as well, and as I say, it is basically exactly the same. It is in fact the same way of growing aloe from seed as other succulents and other cacti. The difference is aloe are much faster growing than most other cacti and even a lot of succulents, so they do need a slightly bigger pot and they do need to be potted on more regularly. But basically the method's the same. I sterilise the soil, well-draining soil mix. I like to use a seed sowing soil. Again, this is optional. You can just use, any type of well-draining soil. And I like to use a loam-based, soil-based seed sowing compost, a John Innes seed sowing compost, which is more loam-based rather than a peat-based soil. But again, this is just my personal choice. Extra perlite or grit, and a bit of extra sand, sharp sand, and I also like to put a bit of sand on the top as well. Again, this is purely optional. I find this helps to keep the mould off, because that's the moss, I should say, from the top. It does help to keep it down. Plus, it does also help to keep fungus down as well, in my opinion. But sterilising soil also does help a little bit. As I say, full information in the how-to videos, so otherwise this will be a long video, and I've made multiple seed sowing videos before, so do check the links out guys. Now first of all, as I say, I've sterilised the soil. I've used 50% seed sowing John Innes loam-based soil, and I've added extra perlite, as you can see, and extra horticulture sand, which is this here, and I've kept some aside to put on the top as well, because it helps to keep the moss down. And the most important thing is obviously you label. As I say, I use the baggy method. The reason being is because I explained that in the video. Keeping them in the bags is great, because it also means you don't have to keep watering them all the time. And then I take them out of the baggies after 3 months. People say, well, don't they need to breathe in the air? But there's enough oxygen in here for the plants for the first 3 months. And then once they've germinated and they've sort of got a little bit of growth on them, I take them out the baggies and treat them then pretty much normally as normal seedlings. Now, first of all, I'm going to do the aloe aristata, and I've chosen a slightly bigger pot here because aloes are faster growing than a lot of other succulents. For example, if I was sowing lithops or something like that, they'd be much, much slower growing, so I'd use a tinier pot. And it's really important, as I say, your hands are clean, because all you need is a bit of dirt or anything not the most hygienic on your hands, and you sow them, then you can spread infection into the soil. And it's important as well, as I say, to label everything when you sow them so you know what they are. I've done a habit in the past when I used to just sow a load and forget what I'd sown, so instantly the label, and then all you have to do then is sprinkle them onto the top. So aloe seeds are very easy because they're large, which is great. And the most important thing, there's one that's got away there, is that you do spread them evenly out so they don't sort of grow on top of each other. And remember, they're not all going to germinate, so if you think, oh, I've got too many seeds in the one pot, personally, in my experience, you might get a 50% rate, but usually it's about 25 to 30% that do germinate. If you're very lucky, you might get them all to germinate. And as that case, I've had that problem upstairs with some Raybutia I sowed last summer. They're all growing on top of each other, so they're going to have to all be separated. So now what you want to do then, easy with aloe seeds, just gently spread them across, so they're not, as I say, they're not all going to germinate growing on top of each other. Aloe do grow quite large, but it's going to be a long time before these get to be too large anyway. And I've grown aloe from seed very successfully before, and including my aloe arborescens and aloe elgenica, which were seeds gifted to me from my wonderful friend Rachel, gardening at Douentza. So do check the video out. Also on updates on sowing the aloe from seed. And if you want to know how to care and grow aloe, do check out a video I've made on how to care for aloe as well. So there's massive, massive varieties. And again, it's going to put a little bit of sand. Again, putting sand on the top is purely optional. It's something you don't have to do. And it's something I've only recently started to do. Funny enough, I never used to. But because I have had a problem with moss on the top of the soil, which is sort of harmless to a point, it's not the most aesthetic, and it can sort of take sometimes a little bit of the nutrients away from your young seedlings, which you don't want to do. Plus, I think it just looks a bit tidier. As I say, you don't want to cover too much with the sand, because you want, obviously, the light to get to the seeds as well. Now, when they first start to germinate, when they are germinating, I should say, they don't need light, but what they do need is heat. And the reason why I'd recommend, if you haven't got additional heat and you haven't got additional light, and all you've got is a cold greenhouse or something, then I would not recommend sowing these seeds until probably late March, April, when the days are longer and the weather starts getting warmer. But if you have extra heat and extra light, as in this case we've got the grow lights upstairs, you can sow them even in the winter, to be honest with you, if you can give them the light. As I say, it's February now, so spring is really just around the corner. And I'm going to be putting these seeds into our boiler cupboard on the shelf where we have our hot water boiler. And the extra heat there, it's probably about 80 degrees in there, will encourage germination. They don't need light until they germinate. Once they've germinated, then I can then put them into on the windowsill and give them extra light with the grow lights. Now that's it, that's all done. I'll say a bit of sand on the top in the baggie, and I've labelled that Aloe aristata, sown February 2019. So I know when it's sowed, and then I've sealed the bag up. And they will stay damp in there, so don't need to worry about watering them, probably for about 3 months, and that's when I'll open the bag. And as I say, because it's been sterilised, I've even sterilised the sand. I put it in the microwave. Again, that is purely optional. I'm a bit fanatical about trying to minimise as much fungus chances as possible, but sometimes it doesn't always work. But it's all about minimalising it. And there you go, that's that done. And because, as I say, it's sterilised, it keeps it in a bit of a sterilised environment as well. More so in the bag than if I just left it, because it just keeps it a bit clean. Now, the next one is Parodia. And as I said, this is from Hans's plant. Now, Parodia, it used to be under the category Noto cactus. And some people still call it that, but now it seems to be under Parodia. Very confusing. So again, now this seed is much, much finer. So I'm just going to sprinkle it on light dust. Impossible to really spread these out because they are so tiny. It's easier just to sprinkle them on like you're sprinkling on salt and pepper. Because cactus seeds vary in how they are. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually put this onto my hand, say, and then sprinkle it on. There you go. And as I say, they are going to be probably around each other a little bit. So just gently press down. But because these seeds are very, 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 very small, I'm going to put a very fine covering of sand on the top of these. I certainly won't be putting much sand on. As I say, I'm using the sharp sand, but you can use the very fine sand. Some people prefer to use the fine sand on the top. The coarse sand is actually really great for adding to the soil. That's a very fine bit there. And as I say, they just need heat to germinate. So if the seeds are covered, it's no big deal really. Nothing to really worry about as such. They'll find a way of finding the way up to the surface for light once they've germinated. So as I say, once they have germinated, if you've got them in a warm area, as I say, I'm going to put this into the boiler cupboard. Once they have germinated, it's important then you do put them into light, because otherwise they will grow stretched out and very white looking, and then you'll end up losing them. So I'll do updates on this when they do germinate, and I'll show you what I'm going to be doing. There you go. That's that little one there. Parodia magnifica, sown February 2019. It's so exciting, and I would be sowing a lot more if I had the space, guys. That is the problem. But as I say, my plans is to be opening a bit of a nursery to sell extra plants and seedlings. So that's going to be my plans in the future, very near future. Now then, that's that. Now this one is Trichocereus. I say now this is a hybrid, and these seeds were gifted to us by our friend Stephen at the Cactus Society here. So excited to have seeds from somebody else's plant here. Stephen's a very, very good grower. He has some amazing cacti, and the flowers on them he shares is just absolutely unbelievable. Now, I know this is a bit of a too small of a pot to be sowing these, but as I say, they're not all going to germinate. Trichocereus is usually a good germination rate, but they're not going to be overcrowded because they're not all going to germinate, I should say. Now, these have gone a bit everywhere here. So they are quite biggish seeds as well, which is another good thing with these. They're not too small like a lot of cactus seeds will be. There you go. And one that got away there, as I say, again, just gently spreading them out. So sort of spread out so they're not going to be growing too much on top of each other here into the corners. And seeds, once they do germinate, even if they are grown on top of each other, they do sort of find a way of spreading themselves out. So it's not too much of a problem there. And once they get big enough, then you just literally pot them on again. And I'm going to be potting on a lot of my seedlings that I sowed last year. They're big enough now to be potted on into their own little individual pots, and some into bigger seed trays and some into individual pots. So stay tuned. Probably in the spring. It's too early to do it just yet. Probably from March, April certainly onwards, I'm going to be potting on all the seedlings I sowed last year into bigger pots and seed trays and things like that. So there we go. Now this can, again, a bit more sand on the top. Tap it down. And so you don't want to be putting the sand too deep where you're going to cover everything. So that's it. That's them done. Then I'm going to show you how where I put them to help them germinate with the heat. That's it. That's that one. Happy days. Trichocereus. Hybrid, sown February 2019. And there we go, guys. So that's them three. And then I'm going to show you where I put them to help them germinate. Now there you go, guys. That's all the seedlings here in our little boiler cupboard. As you can see, it's where we have all our towels and the warm pipes from the hot water there. Will actually keep these warm. There's already sending off a bit of condensation with the warmth, so it's going to keep these sort of about 85 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a nice sort of temperature in there. And once they've germinated, I'm then going to put them up into the window here. into my little office and grow room with all the other little seedlings there. And because we have the grow lights, that's going to give them a bit of additional light while it's still sort of late winter. So guys, and these are all my other little seedlings that I grew from seed sort of last year. As you can see, lots of little ones. And stay tuned for an update video on all these little seedlings here in a bit more detail than what they are now. This is just a little bit of a clip here to show you all the ones I've been growing from seed, doing very well so far. So guys, thanks so much for watching. And I want to send you loads of love, heaps of happiness, and tons of plant power from across the Emerald Isle. And until the next video, bye.